Elephant garlic. Elephant garlic is one of the crops that I've been growing for probably going on 10 years now. Elephant garlic I like. It's really fun to cook with. It's not quite as potent as true garlic, which obviously is a little bit smaller cloves than these. And it's actually in the leek family as opposed to the garlic family, but it does smell very garlicky. It's really pretty. It's a really pretty spring crop, and I like growing. It's neat. I actually got these from a guy in Alabama where I live. Ordered them and have been saving the seed and growing them ever since. So it's fun to be able to produce your own cloves with the leftover ones that you don't sell, or you produce your own, planting cloves here. It's actually quite expensive if you when you buy them, if you buy seed garlic, so really great to be able to save your own. I just save the biggest ones, keep them nice and dry, and then now it is October. October, November is kind of when we plant them here in Alabama. You'd have to look up in your area what would be the best planting time. But today, just wanted to take the opportunity, since I am planting some, to show you what we're doing. So these are some of our garden beds. They are no-till, so we're not using a tiller here. So this way we can kind of show you how we flip beds. We had okra here. I'm going to zoom in on our dead okra over there. All our okra stalks that we pulled up. And so now what we have over here, thankfully, because we maintained the weeding, we didn't have this overgrown jungle to deal with. These are 40-foot beds. These are actually 30-inch wide. And so we have kind of some leftover rotted mulch on the top. And what we're going to do first is identify exactly where our bed is. With these plots, I had put down originally 1 foot wide landscape fabric paths in between the beds to keep the weeding down. But the fun thing about mulching and adding all sorts of organic matter is now they're gone. They're buried underneath all this organic matter, so I'm slowly having to remove them. So I'm not going to remove them this time, but I'm going to look down and find where my mark is here. If you can see, this is where my path fabric goes this way, and my end goes there, and that way I'm going to put a stake right here at the corner, and that's the corner of my bed. In some of my other plots, I actually have holes. I don't have the path fabric going, so I, in order to tell where my paths are, I just melt little holes in my edging fabric to tell where my corner pegs are supposed to go. That way I don't have to keep a peg in or a stake in the ground all the time for someone to trip over. Put these in place. Go ahead and hook up my string here. I'm going to string it up all the way around. So now we have our string laying off where our bed is. There's kind of two options when I'm replanting a bed. I'm either going to remove the mulch so I can access the ground and plant into it and then apply mulch back over the top, or I can plant through the mulch that's existing, or apply it first and then plant through it. This time with planting the garlic, just so that it would be easier, and because I don't have a lot of mulch here already, what I'm going to do is rake off the little bit of mulch that's there. We're going to plant the garlic into the ground and then apply a heavy mulch on the top. As long as it's a grass mulch and we don't do it too deep, then the garlic grows up through it with its little spear tips, leaves pretty easily. Last year I used some heavy mats of leaves in some areas, and it did have, some of it had some trouble coming up through it, so I think grass mulch is probably the better idea. But just going to use this is a type of leaf rake here. I'm just going to use the strings as a guide to kind of rake the mulch off of the bed where it's just on the path. And another benefit to this too is it exposes the weeds. And I'm going to come back with a shallow wheel hoe here and hit those weeds before I plant the garlic. And this right here basically replaces my tiller in the garden here. I don't ever crank up any motor for garden work. What's brilliant here is this, running it in a couple passes down the bed allows me to knock out any weeds that are here. It also loosens the top ½ to inch of soil so that it makes a little bit more of a seed bed or some loosened soil for me to be able to plant the garlic into. So with this size bed, it only takes about 4 passes. And it's a pretty fun thing to use. To lay off my marks for where my garlics are going to be, I'm going to use this rake. The elephant garlic, it has to be spaced a good bit further apart than regular garlic. I normally do a foot apart, both directions. So for this 30-inch bed, we're going to do 3 rows, and we're going to do them a foot apart within the row. So you can see I counted these tines on this rake are actually an inch apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on both sides. These are just pieces of PEX pipe, and I actually have some of my normal markings for different row spacing already on here. So I'm going to go use my string to kind of center it up. If you noticed, after I hoed it, I raked it smooth. That way, hopefully, my tine marks will show up generally on my bed. Now I keep catching the mulch over here, so I have to kind of clean it out from that occasionally, but for the most part, it's good. Now I know, yes, I'm stepping on the bed, and I could do it without it. It helps me keep in line a little bit more. The beauty of minimal till beds is that they're just about as firm as the sod that we're walking on out here, so they don't really compact that much because I'm not digging them very deeply. The only thing I really smushed when I was walking on it was that little bitty ½ inch that I was working with, but if you look up close here, I mean, I didn't compact it. This stuff is beautiful. So unless you think that I'm just unfairly blessed with really good soil, this was naked, absolutely baked red Alabama clay when we first started, and this past spring I went and got a couple loads of decomposed leaves from the city locally and just applied several wheelbarrows to this plot here, and it broke down over the summer, and I am extremely pleased with how nice it is right now. Next, I'm going to mark my side to side spacings, and this gives me my grid for where we're going to plant the garlics. To make sure we cover up our garlic nicely, I am going to use, to put them in, we're going to use a dibbler just to poke a hole and to get them down into the ground further, but I like to cover up the top some, and so we're going to use a hoe to open a little shallow furrow in line that we can cover back up. You can just use a regular hoe, the edge of a hoe. I'm using one of my new zipper tool, which I've got from Johnny's Seeds, designed by Neversink Farms. Their tool line just basically opens up a furrow, you turn it over, and it'll cover the furrow back. I'll show you how that works, but that's the tool I'm using. You don't have to use it, you can just use a regular hoe, but I'm just trying to open a little bit of furrow so we can get that garlic in the ground where it's a little more protected from the cold. The most important part about planting garlic, there is a root end and there is a sprout end. The sprout end is pointy, the root end is kind of rough and rooty. It's obviously where the bottom was. Do not put this in the ground like that. It needs to go like this. Sounds simple, but it's an easy mistake to make, and the plant will not grow very well if you put it the wrong side up. Then just make a little hole with your nice little planting stick here. I've used a stick for years. I just got some of these nice dibblers recently. It makes a world of difference. But get you a stick, get you a dibbler. Makes it really fast to get you some nice holes, especially, you know, no-till beds. I'm not wanting these to be super soft down to like 3 or 4 inches. So it's a little more challenging to just push them into the ground as if I tilled it. So it's like more like we're planting trees here. It's like you would plant flowers in a flower bed, tulip bulbs. It's kind of actually how I manage my garden. It's more like a big flower bed. I don't till the whole thing up. I just pull out what was there, plant, you know, add some amendments, mulch it, good to go. Sticks in. Okay, so I have them all stuck in their little appropriate places now. We just like to cover them up a bit. You can go down, just throw a little bit of dirt on top, cover them up. Also, you can use, I'm going to use this tool right here. It'd be another option in addition to a rake. This just closes the row when it's turned the other way. Well, hence it's called the zipper. A cool layout tool to make it pretty easy to get your spacing right is to use a piece of plywood that you create a template out of. This obviously most of these holes are 6 by 6 apart, and it actually fits what we're doing perfectly because we're doing a foot apart each way. This is a foot apart from here, and then these are 6 inches from each other, so our spacing is going to be there and here, here, and so forth. So this would be something you can, once you're done, if I didn't have these strings here especially, you can either, well, you could slide it down or you can just flip it end over end down your row and be pretty quick and easy. But if you're going to use this, don't even bother about laying out your, you know, digging your trenches and stuff, just because it's difficult. Like what I'm trying to do here is it's too far down in there. It needs to be kind of flat up to the board where you can really push it down and access the surface of the ground. But this is another great way to lay out your garlic and get good, quick, easy spacing as you go down your bed. All right, so we've got this bed all planted and covered up with our elephant garlic. So I'm not going to get to it today, but we have some bales of hay that we got about a month ago that's pretty weed free, and it's not a creeping grass, so we've been using it in our garden pretty successfully. So we're going to cover the whole bed with that, and it'll be basically just need to be checked to make sure no weeds are coming through, and we'll just keep an eye on the plants. We might add some you know, maybe some nutritive solutions, natural fertilizers if it needs it through the season, but for the most part this will be good until we harvest it next year. So now we're going to do what I like to do when I finish planting something. Lord, this is your land and your garlic, and we want to grow it in order to feed people good food. But we can plant it and we can take care of it, but only you can make it grow, and only you can protect it from things that we can't control like hail and stuff. And so I just pray that you would bless this bed of garlic, help it to grow and produce abundantly, and give us people, markets to be able to sell it to, and help it to provide help for a lot of people, Lord, and bring glory to you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right.